Welcome, everybody. This is webinar number 2 of this webinar series, and I'm excited that this is about another subject matter that I don't know a whole ton about. Again, I'm Sarah Goldberg. I've been meeting with a bunch of groups, a bunch of our network partners on fundraising, individual giving, how to get more dollars for your organization to save more lives. But there's a lot of areas I have no clue about. Planned giving is one that I'm constantly learning, but I'm very lucky that I have a colleague, Matt Claflin, who has so much information to share about why everybody should be raising planned gifts. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and we can go. And Matt, if you need any help with the presentation, let me know.
We're going to find out right now if you gave me proper
Warning time, sorry.
authority to share documents. So
I think I did. So
as soon as I hit the share button, we're going to know.
Cool.
All right. So good news is it looks like it's going to let me do it.
There we go.
And I will put it into slideshow mode, maybe. There we go. All right. Welcome everybody. And before I introduce myself, let me start off by saying Sarah always says she doesn't know that much about planned giving, but she's not telling the truth. She knows a lot more than she shares. I will introduce myself, I guess, first, since I'm already talking. My name's Matt Claflin. I've worked at Best Friends for it'll be 10 years coming up very soon, which is hard to imagine. And I've always been on our planned giving team here. I didn't come to Best Friends by way of fundraising or even working for a nonprofit. I actually spent 17 years as a practicing certified financial planner, working in the financial services industry. And Best Friends was an important part of my wife and I's life and became more and more and more important. And one thing led to another, and now she and I both actually work here. So always been in the planned giving team at the organization. Now I've moved through some different roles on the team, but now am our senior manager over planned giving here at the organization. And as I go through the presentation, I'll tell you more facts about our planned giving fundraising program. But it's grown significantly since I got here. I was the 5th member of our planned giving team back in 2014, and we now have 17 members of our planned giving team. So we have grown quite a bit over the years, and we needed to, for sure. Before I dive into the presentation, Nikki, I don't know if everybody on the call knows you already, so I want to make sure, because I'm going to be calling on you as we go through some of these slides, so I want to make sure you get a chance to introduce yourself as well.
Thanks, Matt. My name is Nicole, or Nikki Hardesty. I am the Executive Director of the SPCA Brazoria County here in Brazoria County, Texas. We are an hour south of Houston. I've been in this role about 4 years. I started on our board of directors, and we had a slew of EDs coming through, and I thought I could do a better job than they were doing, and I actually was right. So I've been here about 4 years, and I have loved my relationship with Best Friends from every part of Best Friends that I've worked with. But this has really been a great experience for me. That's working with Sarah, and then getting to work with Matt and learn about the planned giving has been very eye-opening to me, and I'm excited about what we've talked about and what's going to be talked about today.
Perfect. So before I talk about why planned giving, I thought maybe it'd be a good spot to just level set and make sure we're all starting from the same page of the book, and answer give a simple answer to what is planned giving. Most of what we'll talk about today is working with donors and marketing and communications and fundraising, and specifically around donors making bequest gifts to your organization. So in other words, gifts when they pass away from the will, a trust, beneficiary of an IRA, et cetera. I'll touch on a couple of other topics that I think are planned giving related and are things that I think every organization should be communicating with their donors about. And if you're not, you're missing out on gift opportunities today while they're alive. And the point of this whole conversation is not to get like deep in the weeds and talk all kinds of technical, nerdy, boring, estate planning topic stuff. I'm happy to answer all those questions. I can answer all those questions, but I really want to talk about why we should be talking to donors about these things, and some really simple and easy ways to talk about them that doesn't require you to implement a whole new fundraising program within your organization, which most organizations don't have the bandwidth or the desire for, but instead mix this into what you're already doing from a donor conversation or donor communication point of view. So one of the things you'll learn about me is that I really enjoy interaction with all of you. So a couple of things. One, if you have questions, stop me and ask, or throw them in chat and Sarah will see them and ask me. But there will also be times that I ask all of you questions. And so the first one is, I'm curious to know from anyone who would like to chime in, what sort of obstacles you've seen within your career or within your organization today that prevents or stands in the way of planned giving fundraising, or specifically bequest fundraising. I know somebody's seen obstacles.
Time.
Oh,
Sorry.
Time, that's a very good one. Yep, that's definitely one.
for us, it was
Well,
understanding what it was even about.
Yeah.
Yep, that can definitely be it. And people get intimidated thinking that planned giving means is a synonym for complex, time consuming, and difficult, and it's not. I grew up, I haven't told you guys this yet, but I grew up in South Louisiana. So let me tell you, if a guy from South Louisiana can figure out planned giving fundraising, anybody can, because we're not known to be the smartest people in the world in South Louisiana, in case you guys hadn't heard. So yeah, those are definitely some. What else?
Lack of experience. Our board
Okay.
does not know how to even do fundraising. So
Yeah,
very
lack of
difficult.
experience, and I'm glad you mentioned the board, because sometimes I talk to organizations and actually see the board of directors is hesitant about it, and sort of a anti planned giving fundraising, and part of that goes into my next bullet point, which is this one. Have you heard the myths about planned giving? I'm curious to know from all of you, what sort of negative things, because that's what myths tend to be when it comes to nonprofit world, and especially animal welfare. But what sort of negative things have you heard out there, or stigmas have you heard out there about planned giving?
I mean, one of the struggles I have is convincing leadership and the board that planned giving is not either or with major gifts. You're not going to lose out on current money by also focusing on planned gifts.
Okay, so Diana, you just nailed what I believe is the number one myth and the most wrong myth about planned giving fundraising. There is a myth out there, and this is often the objection I see with boards of directors specifically, that says, well, if we get them to commit to making a bequest to our organization, they're going to stop giving to us while they're alive. That's wrong. If you look at any of the fundraising reporting, like the Giving USA report, this kind of information is there. We do this study periodically, specifically on the Best Friends donor database as well. Once someone commits to making a bequest to your organization, it actually psychologically it increases the importance of your organization to them personally, and giving doesn't go down. It doesn't even stay the same. Giving actually goes up. Current giving goes up once someone has committed to making a bequest to your organization and named you as a beneficiary in their will or on a beneficiary in their IRA or their CD at the bank, whatever it is, their outright giving actually goes up once you're a beneficiary within their estate plan. That is a very common myth. It's a very common objection. It's also a very wrong objection. The numbers are there, and I don't have all the numbers off the top of my head for best friend statistics, but honestly, anybody that wants them, I'd share with you exactly what the statistics are for that, because we've looked at it at all different types of donors, both new donors, sort of mid time frame donors, very long-term donors. We've looked at it with larger donors, with smaller donors. We've looked at it from all kinds of different points of view, and and giving goes up once someone's made a bequest or committed to making a bequest to your organization.
I would love to get those, because for me, a lot of times it's convincing others. I come from large fundraising, so it's not news to me, but convincing others just because I say it, it doesn't always fly.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very happy to help you with that. What other, before I move to the last bullet point on this slide, what other myths has anybody heard? By the way, in obstacles, you all mentioned one. It's an obstacle and a myth.
One thing that I know the board continuously says is, I don't know where to go to, what person should I go to? And I don't know who to contact, even though we have research and things that were done.
Yeah, well, yeah, from a donor perspective, the answer on who to contact is everybody.
Yeah.
Every single donor is a plan giving prospect. Every single volunteer is a plan giving prospect. Because we're all going to have money when we die. Some are going to have more than others, but we're all going to have money when we die, and it's got to go somewhere. And that means every one of us is a prospect for making a bequest to the organization. So and that ties into one of the obstacles all of you mentioned was the difficulty or complexity. Bequests can be complex, but the overwhelming majority of them are not. It's super simple, and that so often is one of the myths. It's complex, it's difficult, it's hard, and that myth alone roadblocks a lot of organizations from doing anything. From a plan giving fundraising perspective. So
Matt, I have one question.
go ahead.
So the thing is, how do you market it?
Yeah,
That was,
we're going there.
okay,
and
good. I just wanted to bring that up because that's what they asked me.
We're going there, and it's actually super. You're going to find out it's going to be super easy.
Yay.
And not time consuming. So the last bullet point on this slide, this one I'll answer my own question. Do you know the most important plan giving question? And the answer is yes, I know the most important plan giving question. And this is not a Matt Claflin or a best friend's opinion. I don't know, and this is you probably will hear me mention this guy's name multiple times today, but I don't know if any of you track Russell James, who's a professor at Texas Tech University and a fundraising expert. He teaches within their college for financial planning at Texas Tech University, but he's really a fundraising expert, and he has a tremendous amount of experience before being at Texas Tech of being an actual frontline fundraiser in both the major gift and plan giving world. He's worked at Texas Tech now for a long time and has he's got an army of grad students, and he does a ton of research through focus groups on fundraising language, and especially plan giving fundraising language, not exclusively plan giving, but especially plan giving fundraising language. And through his focus groups, he's been able to determine the most important plan giving question, which is the number one reason why a donor who gives gifts to your organization, both small gifts and large gifts and everywhere in between, during their lifetime, the number one reason that donor doesn't make a bequest to your organization when they pass away is simple. It's because you didn't ask them to do it. And this is the first spot where plan giving doesn't have to be complex. If the biggest reason why somebody doesn't make a bequest to best friends is I didn't ask, well, I can figure out how to ask, because even if I ask bad and I don't have the most simple and the most effective ask, if the most important question is just simply asking them to do it, we can all figure that out. We don't need to be experts on estate planning or finance or gift types or anything. As we can figure out how to ask someone to make a bequest to our organization, and that is by far in his research the number one reason why people don't make a bequest, is that the organization never asked them to do it. And that one's a pretty simple one to figure out. So here's the agenda. Um, it's implement a plan giving program, and what you're going to find out is that means making it part of what you do already from a fundraising and a donor communications perspective. And again, because I'm from Louisiana, it's really important for me, and I've found it works really well for other organizations, to just keep it simple. But that's kind of all I'm capable of anyway, probably. Um, and for most of you within your organizations, my guess is you're probably wearing multiple hats, like Nikki is, who we're going to chat with today as well. And so being efficient with use of time is incredibly important, because there are so many different things that you all have to do in a day. And finally, the way we keep it efficient from a use of time perspective is focusing on what are the most impactful topics. And what I mean by that is, what's going to move the needle the most as far as dollars in the door at your organization? Because as my boss and Sarah's boss often say, more money equals more mission. Fundraising at the end of the day is really not a complex world. And the more money we raise, the more money the program side of the house within our organizations, the more they're able to spend. In other words, the more programming we're able to do. And so focusing on the most impactful topics means go to the places where, with the least amount of effort, we're going to raise the most amount of money, if that makes sense. So from there, what I did, or what Nikki and I did, was Nikki was kind enough to share with me some fundraising communications from SPCA of Brazoria County, and I spent some time looking at some public information of theirs as well. And what I did was I went through an analysis and said, okay, here's what you're already doing from a fundraising and a donor communications perspective, and here's how we can really easily start to enter bequest fundraising specifically into what she's already doing. Not creating new materials or new communications, but putting it right into stuff she's already doing. So I looked at several things. I looked at direct mail, so like old school snail mail, which still works incredibly well in fundraising, and especially in animal welfare based on our donor demographics. I looked at email communications, because obviously that's a big part of what all of us do. I looked at their website, and I didn't spend time looking at their social media. The reality is, I'm sure all of you use social media for fundraising, and it does get used for planned giving fundraising as well. I sort of look at social media as a kind of a 2.0, or a graduate level planned giving marketing course, because when you start to get into social media and planned giving fundraising, that is where you start to create some planned giving specific pieces. And it's something that can be done and can be very effective, but it's not something I would do first. I would worry about the first three: direct mail, email, and the website, long before I worried about social media. And frankly, if you never did any planned giving fundraising in social media, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But if and when each of your organizations get there, let Sarah know, let me know, and I'm happy to share some strategies and creative and things that we use in that space, that you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. So warning, Nikki, this is where I'm going to start calling on you. So here's Here's the first example of something I looked at from SPCA, Brazoria County. This is not an entire email communication. It's the end of an email communication that they sent out recently to donors, and it's the text here is very nice. It's a very kind email. I love the fact that it ends with thank you. I also love the fact that that last sentence starts with the words thank you. We know from Tom Ahern's fundraising language research, and we also know, if you've never read the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you've not read it, by the way, it's not a fundraising book, but read it. And one of the things that Dale Carnegie teaches us is that there's no greater sound to each of us personally in the world than our own name. So starting sentences with somebody's name or the words thank you or because of you is incredibly impactful, and people pay attention to that because we don't like anybody on earth more than we like ourselves at the end of the day. And then, of course, this message ended with the donate button, which is important. I'm glad we all should be, as fundraisers, right? Asking every opportunity we get, asking people to give gifts to our organization. So what I did was I looked at this and I said, this email communication had nothing, it had to do with donor impact. And because donors are giving gifts today, there's this video, and it's a stewardship video, really thanking them for the positive impact they made on the lives of the animals that were in the story in this email. So what I did was I said, how can we take this email and not change it, but just add something to it in the easiest way possible to get back to the most important plan giving question, right? Asking someone to make a bequest to our organization. And this is exactly how I would do it. I would just simply, below the donate button or down near the bottom of the email, add a PS line. And if I were going to write it, it looks something like this. Considering a gift to SPCA of Brazoria County in your will, call this number, email this email address to learn more. That's all I put in there. That's it. Just that is asking the question. And yeah, could I spend 7 weeks fine tuning this language and trying to get it just perfect? Yeah, I probably could. But it would be 7 weeks of donor communications without asking about bequests. And remember, the most important question is ask. It's not how you ask, it's ask. And so that's all I would do to this email, is just simply add this PS line. And it's that simple, in my opinion. So Nikki, do you want to we talked through this stuff last week when we met one-on-one, as far as things I'm suggesting or recommending to you guys within your fundraising communications. So now you've had a handful of days to think on it and think how much you don't or do like my ideas. Do you want to share with everyone how you feel about this one?
So this idea I really like, because it will take literally a second of time to add it to the end of an email, and it's just blunt and to the point. There's no fancy language, there's no nothing to no hoops to jump through or anything, just asking, which is something that resonated with me, what you said. I don't ask people to leave money to us in their will. That's why they don't always do it. So if I'm asking, this is an easy way to do it. So I like this idea a lot. And it's not something that we do. We don't send emails like this one, weekly or anything. It's, monthly or quarterly. So I don't feel like I'd be bombarding people asking them all the time. I definitely think it's a change that we'll be implementing.
Perfect. And by the way, I should have shared this at the beginning when I was kicking us off. I'm going to share these slides with all of you, along with, I'll talk more about what'll be in the folder, but I'm going to create a whole shared folder or shared drive that all of you will have access to, and the slides will be in there. So don't feel like you have to scribble down every word on every slide. Feel free to if you like, but you will get a copy of the slides. So here's another example. This is another one of their email communications, and in this one you'll see something. It's You'll see something a little different, right? They already have a PS line at the bottom of this email talking about an event that's going to be happening, and asking people to purchase tickets. And again, remember, I have to keep things simple. So here's what I would do with this one. I would add a PSS, which you might be laughing at the moment, but a PSS is a real thing. And as you can see, the language I would add in it is exactly the same as the PS line that I suggested. One of the things that we know, and this doesn't come from Russell James, this is also something that I think comes from Tom Ahern and his research. He did a study where he had people read written fundraising communications, and they were wearing some sort of monitors that monitored where their eyes were looking. And what we found in written communications, both email and snail mail, is that more often than not, people in our written communications, they read the stuff at the top and they read the stuff at the bottom, and they usually skim or maybe don't even read the stuff in the middle. So forget plain giving for a second. Put the most important things that you want to say to people in written communications either at the top of your communication, like in the heading or the subject or the first paragraph, or you put it at the bottom, because that's going to be where the most number of eyes see it. If it's in the middle, less people are going to read all the way through. It's just, we're, as humans, that's just what we do. And so PS lines are really, if you're not using them in your overall fundraising communications, start doing it, because people read PS lines, whether it's email or written correspondence, they read them. And so here, to add a bequest ask to this particular communication, I just simply take that same PS line and make it a PSS, and actually have the PS and the PSS. I'd have both here. I wouldn't take something away. I would just add this to it, and do nothing else. I wouldn't change a single thing about this communication. Actually, I think I made one language suggestion too. I think this was the one, Nikki, that I made a language suggestion on something that's not on the screen that had nothing to do with plain giving, but it was a really small one. But from a plain giving perspective, this is all I would do to include plain giving fundraising in this particular communication. What do you think about my PSS line, Nikki?
I think again, it's an easy for me to add, and something I'm definitely going to be adding to our fundraising correspondences.
And
simple. That what I like about all of the ideas that you gave us were the simplicity of them, because I don't have time to recreate a fundraising program, create a new program. I don't have time for that because I wear multiple hats here. So this is just tweaks we could make to our current fundraising program, and it's not really taking away any time from anything else that I'm doing.
Something else Nikki and I talked about in preparation for today was that, a PS line, like I said a second ago, it works for a lot of stuff in fundraising communications, and it doesn't always have to be a bequest ask. You could put a PS line in and ask about a gift from someone's donor advised fund, or a gift of stock, or a gift from their IRA. It can be, or like this PS line that's in your communication now, Nikki, right? About a PS line about buy tickets to this event that benefits, our organization and the animals. It can be a lot of different things. The key to PS lines is to remember almost everybody that reads your letter or your email reads the PS line. So getting back to the most impactful topics, meaning the things that raise the most amount of money with the least amount of effort, PS lines do that. It's just simple, simple facts and experience that a lot of people have at some really successful fundraising organizations. So this third one, and forgive me for my not great scan here, but this one, Nikki, is not from one of your communications, and this is the thing I told you last week when we met, that I totally forgot to bring and show you in the moment. So you're seeing it for the first time too. This is a direct mail piece, and this is not even an animal welfare organization. This is the response envelope that's on the screen. It's coming out of this newsletter. Circle of Concern is a food pantry in St. Louis. Diana, you might have heard of them. They're out in Valley Park, and they're an organization that I used to be on the board of when I still lived in St. Louis, and they still do that newsletter I just showed on the camera. They still do they do both an email version and a print version on a monthly basis of their newsletter, and it's simple, right? It's just one page folded and then folded in half with a little circle sticky on it to put it in the mail. It goes out bulk postage, bulk nonprofit postage, so it's super cheap. Super slow, but that's okay. It's super cheap. And inside of it, they have an envelope that folks can update their contact information with the organization and hopefully write a check and stuff it in the envelope and mail it back. It's not a postage paid envelope, by the way. I have to, when I mail them a check, or when I used to mail them checks before I made electronic gifts, I had to put my own stamp on the envelope. And the scan that you're seeing here is actually the inside of the envelope. So imagine if that top half of what you're seeing, that folds down. You lick it, and then it folds down, and that's what it sticks the envelope. So you don't actually, when this goes to the mail, you don't see this piece. They only see this piece when they receive the envelope and open it. But what you'll see on the top portion there, so on the inside flap on the left-hand side under the Circle of Concern logo, they have three check boxes there. One that has to do with year-end tax letters, but the other two are what I always refer to as the two planned giving check boxes. The first one, in case it's too small to read, says, please contact me about making a gift to Circle in my will or trust. The second one says, I have included a gift to Circle in my will or trust. And so this is just a different example of a direct response or direct mail version of communications, where you can include some really simple information that covers the most important plan giving question, asking them to consider a gift in their will or trust as a bequest to your organization. And also here with the second checkbox, perhaps they've already done it, and just encouraging them to let you know, so that you can properly thank them and steward that gift. And so I wanted to show this because it is, first of all, you can very easily include it in both electronic and in written communications. And I would also encourage you, in the most simple, easiest, least time consuming way, to include a planned giving ask in as many of your communications as you can possibly find a way to fit it into. Because remember, the most important question, ask. And so and everybody, like I alluded to earlier, everybody that interacts with our organization is a planned giving prospect. Some of them will make bigger bequests than others, but they're all plan giving prospects. And so asking in as many different places as possible is really important. So you're asking as many people as possible that interact with your organization. So I'll stop there before I dive into the website, because the website's a little more complex, not way more complex, but a little bit more, and see if anybody has any questions or comments before I jump into this next topic.
Diana, you had a couple questions in the chat. Do you want to hit on those now or wait?
So the question I had was, how do you manage a plan giving department when the overall age of your donors are younger?
There's still plan giving prospects. That it will take longer for this particular type of gift to arrive at your organization, but there's still plan giving prospects. And like even you know, pretty much these days, anybody that has a job has like a 401k at work, and usually employer provided life insurance. Both of those places are really easy places, so fast they can do it online and name your organization as beneficiary. And so, yes, it will take longer to realize those gifts, but there's still plan giving prospects, and we should still be asking them. Obviously, we want to start with our oldest donors and volunteers first. And forgive me for being slightly blunt, but obviously, if they're older, there's less time on earth for them, which means less time for them to go name us as beneficiary of our organization before they pass away. So we want to start with the older ones first, but the younger ones are still plan giving prospects. And even if they don't have a will or a trust, which depending on how young they are, most of them probably don't, they still have a 401k and life insurance and that sort of stuff through work, and can name us as beneficiary. And they still have a bank account that they can name us as beneficiary on. Those are three things that almost every working human being has these days, and all three of those places are places that Gateway Pet Guardians, in your case, can be a beneficiary.
For the record, I've already added your PS option. I'm literally building our new platform giving page, and so I added it to our confirmation already. So
awesome. Very good. Well, I will dive into the website. So Nikki, this is back to showing your stuff again. So I have a few screenshots. This is obviously not the entire website for Nikki's organization, but what this is the navigation menu. So when you click on the little on the little 3-line stack at the top of the screen, this is actually not even all, but this is a good majority of the navigation options that come down in the drop down when you click on the navigation menu on their website. All kinds of stuff here. Obviously, the one we're most interested in is the third one down that says donation. And right now, when you click on that with Nikki's organization, and I imagine probably most of your organizations, you get something that might look like this. Please donate now. You might have an Amazon wish list. You can see SPCA of Brazoria County has in the navigation menu has a thrift store that they actually have separately from donation, because it's a really important part of their organization's operation and their fundraising, and certainly warrants its own spot in the navigation menu. But when you click on donate, this is what you get. And this is good. But there are so many other ways that folks can donate to our organization. And so I wanted to show this, and on the next slide, I have one more. There's one more thing I'll show on this slide. On the next slide is where I'll start to talk about what I've recommended for Nikki as far as build out on their website. And then we'll get to see if she throws tomatoes at me or not. So this is not plain giving specific, but you can see I put an exclamation point on it and made the font pretty big. Don't forget the donate button. Hopefully all of you have like the donate button hopefully just lives throughout your website, no matter where somebody navigates on your website. Hopefully the donate button is always there, no matter what. If they're looking at adoptions or fostering or the thrift store or actually at the donate page or whatever the case may be, um, hopefully the donate button on your website follows them everywhere. If it doesn't, I strongly recommend that. Not the ways to give button or the all the ways to give to my organization button, but specifically the donate button that allows them to click on it and make an immediate gift using credit card or ACH from their bank account to your organization right now when the mood strikes them. That donate button should follow them every single place that they go on your website. Make it easy for people to give you money, um, is the reality. So here's where I've got 2 slides actually on what I'm recommending for Nikki to consider in continuing to build out the donation part of their website. So first is, instead of donations, that third spot that we saw in the navigation menu, I would actually change that from donation to ways to give. Again, I'd put the donate button, which it is on her website, right on the front screen of the website, and then the donations section would become ways to give. And here are all the things that I think make sense for every organization to have in ways to give. I still put donate now there because at the end of the day, that's what saves the most lives today is donate now. And so it's a really important part of all of us continue to raise the most money possible for our organization. This is not a must have, but I would strongly consider it. I would also have a separate spot there for recurring donations, whether it's monthly, annual, the automatic renewing donations, sustainers is what we often call them in fundraising. I know that pretty much every donate button functionality that we use on our websites today has the option of either checking a box to say one-time gift or recurring gift. But I actually think it's a good idea to have a recurring donation or a monthly donation option right there under the ways to give section. So if I'm a donor coming to your website and I want to start a monthly donation, I have to click through less buttons if you give me that option in the ways to give section. And obviously we all love sustaining donors. That loyalty is a really positive thing from a fundraising point of view. The next thing I'd put in is gifts from IRAs. Then I'd put in gifts from donor advised funds. Then I'd put in gifts of stock, bonds, and mutual funds. All of these things are things that I think every single organization should make information available about through their website so that people know your organization accepts these types of gifts. And obviously from an IRA, a donor advised fund, and a stock, bond, and mutual fund perspective, those tend to be bigger gifts too. So we want to make sure people know that they can give those gifts to us along with other organizations. And then the last one in ways to give that I'd have would be plain giving. So, the donate now, the recurring, the IRA, the donor advised fund, the stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Those are all, it's click through and it's just, it's one set of information, if you will, on the next page. It's just, once you click that, you've got the final information. And for IRAs and stocks, I've actually written a donor-facing one-page fact sheet, just one page front and back, that we use for our donors. That I'm going to put in those shared documents that I share with all of you, you'll literally be able to take the information off of the fact sheets that we have and use those to build this page on your website. Obviously, I mean, well, you don't have to not change the name from, best friends to whatever your organization's name is. If you want to put our information on there, I'm okay with that, but I suggest changing it to your organization's information. But otherwise, you can literally use the words on our page, word for word. You can just use it to build this page on your website or create your own fact sheet if you want hard copies. We have both at Best Friends. Donor advised fund gifts, we don't have a fact sheet in the same way, but I would encourage you on those. Go to the bestfriends.org website and just steal a copy from our donor advised fund page. It's not copyrighted. We're totally cool if you take it. No big deal. We're happy to have everybody in animal welfare raising more money. As the cliche says, a rising tide lifts all boats. So then in the planned giving section, this one's not complex, but has a couple more moving parts. There's some, the Best Friends Planned Giving webpage, first of all, let me say, is wonderful. It's bigger, more complex, and has more moving parts than I think most organizations should have. You don't have a 17-member, I'm guessing, planned giving fundraising team at your organization. You probably don't have 17 people at your organization doing fundraising. And so you want to definitely want to keep it more simple. So here are the sections that I would have in a planned giving webpage if I had one. It'd be will or trust, retirement accounts, other financial accounts, meaning bank accounts, CDs, joint account with my wife at Fidelity, whatever the case may be. So financial accounts that aren't IRAs and 401ks and that sort of thing. Life insurance is still an important topic and can make some pretty nice sized gifts, quite frankly. And donor advised funds is another one that I put there. Most people don't realize, actually most of us in fundraising don't realize, if I have a donor advised fund, which I do personally, not only do I make gifts out of it today, or me and my wife make gifts out of it today while we're alive, just like my IRA or my 401k, it has beneficiaries. So if I pass away, or if we pass away and there's still money in our donor advised fund, we've named beneficiaries, charitable beneficiaries, obviously, where that any leftover money in our donor advised funds that we don't distribute before we pass away, it will go to the specified charities that we've designated. And so when it comes to donor advised fund communications, we should be asking people to consider our organization as beneficiary or one of the beneficiaries of their donor advised fund. And then the last thing that I think is incredibly important actually to have on our planned giving websites is our organization's legal name, our legal address, our tax ID number, and some sample legal language for wills and trust to name your organization as beneficiary. And I'll share that sample legal language with you in the documents that I share with everybody. So again, you'll just have to change the name, the address, and the tax ID to your organization, but you'll be able to copy and paste from what we use at Best Friends. But that last one is super important for two reasons. One, obviously donors need it. But two, estate planning attorneys and financial advisors, a lot of times, Mrs. Smith will go into her financial advisor and say, hey, I want to name Gateway Pet Guardians as beneficiary on my IRA. And her financial advisor will go to the Gateway Pet Guardians website without ever calling you or emailing you or sending you a carrier pigeon message and look for this information that they need to name you as beneficiary of Mrs. Smith's IRA. If they find it, it's super easy and it's done. If they don't find it, they may not get back to it. There's no guarantee that they're going to call you or email you. They may just tell her, hey, couldn't find the info. If you can get it, let me know. Otherwise, they're not beneficiary right now. And we don't want that. We want it to be as easy as possible. And so putting that information in a really easy place to find on our Plain Giving website that's super obvious and quick to get to is a really important thing. So, Nikki, do you want to share with everyone your thoughts and feelings about my website recommendations?
I obviously like your website recommendations. And I know we spoke about how to structure it, and that, looking at the best friend site and being able to have different places where they can click. So like having a picture with, the different ways that they could give, and then a little description, and then you click on it to go further into more description. And I was concerned, just thinking this through prior to us talking, I don't know anything about all of this stuff. There's like literally nothing that I know about any of this. But to be able to kind of steal it from other websites, or have you give it to us, is very beneficial, because again, I don't have the time, patience, or energy to learn about any of this stuff.
Well,
So
I know one of the things you told me when we talked last week is that you found the Plan Giving page on the San Francisco
yes,
SPCA website to be super helpful and really
yes.
applicable to what you're working on from a website point of view on the Plan Giving side. And so um, I again, their information is not copyrighted, so I would say all of you feel free to go and look at that information. And quite frankly, what they have on their Plan Giving website, probably to a large extent came from Best Friends, because I did a whole ton of Plan Giving fundraising consulting with them
Well,
about
I mean,
two years ago.
the setup is similar. The layout is similar to what they have. And I actually am sure it was for friends, because I saw it while I was while I was in the executive leadership cohort through Best Friends. So it was part of the curriculum,
Yep.
To look at their website. The other thing that you pointed out, and kind of made me understand, was the importance of the website, because we strictly rely on our social media. When I say we, I mean internally. Like, we've built the website and we don't touch it. Anything that gets updated gets API'd, through Shelter Love or through Pet Finders or whatever. We don't touch the website. Because, and we're always on social media, but I'm realizing that I do need to pay more attention to my website. I never would have thought that that financial advisors would be looking there for things. And the thing that you had pointed out to me, that about putting the 990s and all of our financial information on our website, so that it's easier for financial advisors to find, because you're right, people aren't going to maybe call us, and even if they
Yep.
do, the fact that they maybe or maybe not get to the right person over here, they might get someone who answers the phone and says, sorry, I don't have that information,
Yeah.
click.
You
So
touch somebody on your adoptions team. Yeah.
right, they get the adoptions team, as opposed to getting, phone treed to me or something. So the website is going to be a big part for us of the planned giving and how we do it. And I feel like once we set it up, we're going to be okay to, again, kind of ignore our website and stay on our social media for our other stuff. And be able to check back every once in a while on the website. But the suggestions that you gave me about, ways to give instead of donations, and building all of this out and putting all the information, definitely, great information and stuff that I'm excited to get into the site.
Perfect. So I know we only have my screen.
2 minutes.
There we go. Yeah, I know we're pretty short on time. So this is not a must do. But it's an idea, and Nikki, the way I referred to it with you last week is it's sort of a 2.0 idea. Um, but it's something that we've definitely had success with at Best Friends. So all of us have a donation button or a button on our website. And when someone clicks it and they make a gift, there's a pop-up that comes after the gift is completed that says your gift is complete and thank you, or the language is obviously different for a little bit from one place to the next, but we all have that same basic functionality. And there's something we've had success with at Best Friends is adding I call it the PS line, because you can use the same thing. Add the same PS line on, you consider adding it on your donation pop-up window. That same PS line that I showed in the email communications earlier. If you add it to your donations pop-up window, you'll see some success and some traffic that comes from that. So that's that's not a must do. It's not an absolute have to have, but it's a pretty easy implementation in most cases, and you'll see success from it. So again, just continuing to think through how you communicate with donors, and trying to think of every possible place that you can include a simple ask from a bequest point of view. In any of the communications that you're doing is really the point. And with this particular slide. So just quickly, and we don't have time today to get into any of this in a huge amount of detail, but I am going to share, this will be part of the documentation that I share with you. So everything we just spent time talking about speaks to the first bullet point. What process do you need to maximize the number of donors that are making plans for this type of gift to your organization? Put it everywhere. Think of everywhere as a bequest prospect, and try to communicate about it as often as possible in the simplest way possible. But then, when you start doing that, something's going to happen. People are going to start raising their hand. People are going to start sending you emails. People are going to start calling you and asking, because you asked them to consider it and contact you. And you've got to be able to, you want to respond to that. And so in the documentation that I share with all of you, there will be some basic information that we share when people ask the question, and the cover letters that we use for that information, that when we send it out to donors, we send it out both electronically and in the mail. More often than not in the mail. People like to have that kind of stuff in hard copy, especially so they can take it in with them to their attorney or to their financial advisor. But sometimes people like it electronically. Sometimes they like it both. But I'll share, when someone raises their hand and asks you for the information, I'll share with you all the key stuff that you need to send. And again, it'll be in a format where all you got to do is copy and paste it and change the information from Best Friends to your organization's information. So you're not going to have to do anything other than put it on your letterhead and edit it to your organization's information. And then the last point here is, I don't forget to document and stay in communication. So all of you, I'm sure, have some sort of donor database you're using, whether it's something like Hero, that's the internal term of Best Friends, Blackbaud, which is super complex, or some of the more basic systems, like Donor Perfect or others, or you might just be using Excel spreadsheets, which is totally fine. But the key is, when people ask for this information, document that they've asked for it, and then send it to them, and then follow up with them at least once and make sure they got it and that they don't have any other questions. If you can follow up with it, if you have time to follow up with them more, follow up with them more, but follow up with them at least once and make sure they got it and that they don't have any questions. And then from that will come, from people raising their hand and asking for the information, will come people doing it and planning a bequest to your organization. And then after that will come, they pass away, and it's time for your organization to actually get the bequest, right? Whether it's via a beneficiary on an account at Fidelity, or through their will or their trust. It comes in lots of different ways, but they're going to come. And so, this is another one of those things that could be this part of the conversation could be an entire process, and I'm going to cover it in 60 seconds. But again, communication is key, right? When someone communicates with us and reaches out to us, we want to respond back every single time. It's like playing tennis or pickleball, which is all the rage these days. When they hit the ball over the net to us, we want to swing and hit it back. We never want them to hit the ball over the net and not have us attempt to hit it back. Donors don't like that. They like to know that they've been heard. And so when we get notification from an executor of a will or a trustee of a trust that says, "Hey, Mrs. Smith passed away, and you're a beneficiary in her plans in some way," there's a response letter we send back to them to thank them and let them know how to continue to communicate with us. I'll share a copy of that letter with you. So all you got to do is copy and paste it onto your letterhead and update it to your organization's information. And then, much like the living donor side of the conversation, track it, put it in a database, and in the documents I share with you, I'll share with you, even if you don't have a database that can track this kind of stuff, I'll share with you an Excel spreadsheet template for what you should be tracking, from a bequest gift perspective when you're notified that someone's passed away and a gift is going to be coming to you at some point. Because more often than not, many months go by from the time someone passes away and the time the estate is actually distributed and the gifts go out to all the different beneficiaries. And most importantly, thank them. Thank them for letting you know up front. So that's part of communicate. And then thank them on the back end. Once they actually send you the wire or send you the check, however the gift comes, send them a letter acknowledging that it got there and thanking them, for the work that they're doing and for the gift and the wonderful impact they're making on your organization. It shocks me how often at Best Friends we're told by people administering estates that Best Friends is the only beneficiary in the person's estate that actually acknowledged receiving the gift and thanked them for it. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. And in our culture at Best Friends, we're very much a gratitude and thank you culture. But it shocks me that organizations aren't thanking people for these gifts, because the average bequest, if you look at like the Giving USA reports, I think the average bequest today is like $50,000 or $60,000. Best Friends, it's more than that. But I think the average bequest across all nonprofits is like $50,000 to $60,000 per gift, and we'll stumble over ourselves for somebody if they're going to write us a check for $50,000 today while they're alive, and we should be have the same excitement and the same level of gratitude for bequest gifts as well. So, Sarah, I'll get everybody's email addresses from you so that I can properly share the folder with all the documents. And in that, I'll also I'll scan my business card so all of you have my direct contact information. So if you have questions on anything I share, don't hesitate to ask. Or if you have questions on it, on any of the things we've talked about today, don't hesitate to ask. So thank you all very much, not only for this hour of time, but frankly, thank you all for everything you do on a day-to-day basis within animal welfare. It's something I know we're all heavily committed to, and it's a huge part of everybody's life. And I know all of us here at Best Friends are grateful for all the work that everybody does.
Thank you, Matt. That was great. And I know we're over, but just know everybody, you can ask Matt directly any questions. And obviously when we have our check-ins, we can talk about this as well. And it might inspire some other questions that we send Matt's way. But this was wonderful.
And I'm good for like another 7 minutes or so. So if anybody does want to hang on and has any questions, I'm happy to hang on and chat. If not, I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.
And I'm going to just roll, I'll stop recording in a second, but just since this will be featured on our network partner YouTube page, know that if you're watching this, there's so many other videos on this page to check out. And also the network partner site, our website, has just loads of resources. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to hit stop.